Hello, my name is Brayanoski.
And I'm Austin Morales, and you're listening to The Inner Gamer On because you can't see us.
And today we're going to be talking about the most underrated games of all time. And we're literally diving into all the games that may not get a lot of attention, but, you know, we think they were awesome and we want to talk about them and give them the love that they deserve. So let's dive right in.
And as always, if you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, and bang that bell because we know you want to. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Feeling good over here because you banging that bell for us.
Bang that bell, honey. Yeah, you know you want to. Bang it real hard. Super hard. So we're going to go through this list in no particular order and then get to our number one most underrated game of all time. Battleborn is a game that's underrated. This game came out by Gearbox Software. This was their game before they brought out Borderlands 3, in which they were trying to do something different. And that something different ended up getting them slapped in the face because Overwatch came out like a week later. Everything was forgotten after that.
Yeah, you don't come back from that.
Yeah, no. Battleborn just did a good job of like trying to take what was great about MOBAs and meld it with like a third-person shooter game. Battleborn was a lot of fun, and I am really sad that just never saw the light of day, and now the servers are shut down, and you basically just can't play it.
Sad day, man.
Big time. Big time.
We were loving it. We were enjoying it. I was actually against Overwatch. I was like, this looks so kiddie. I want to play this. And then obviously it took over our lives.
Yes, it did. Man, I kind of want to jump back into it actually. Next game we have is a game that never actually saw the light of day, and that's Radical Heights. Basically a response to the Battle Royale genre. But it was very, very outlandish and out there in its art style. And it's it was a radical game. And it was the first Battle Royale that came out that had a cash shop in there, which ironically now Call of Duty Warzone is here and has a cash shop. Some of the ideas of Radical Heights kind of came into other games down the line. But it looked good. It just, for some reason, never caught the attention of people. Were you excited about it at all? Did you have any interest in Radical Heights?
Nope.
Damn. Okay.
Not at all.
Guess it was just me then.
Just you. Sorry.
Another game that never really saw much light of day was, and probably because it was on Xbox only, but Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive was a game that came out as an Xbox exclusive that was an Insomniac game. And then now Insomniac is owned by PlayStation. So I don't know if that IP was independent and like they still own the IP and they could make a Sunset Overdrive too, but I feel like they should try and tackle it because I think it'd be cool to revisit that game in some capacity.
Yeah, it was definitely a game I was excited for originally. I played it after the fact. It had been years after its release, so it kind of doesn't hold the same excitement and gameplay that other games have now. I think it's exactly where it needs to be. Just leave it behind. It's done.
Damn.
I guess that's the only one I don't agree with on this list.
Yeah. Thought it was really cool. I liked it. It reminded me of Infamous quite a bit.
Okay, yeah.
Had like an Infamous kind of vibe to it.
Uh-huh.
The traversal around the world was really interesting. Being able to get around the world seamlessly and kind of go anywhere was pretty cool. Another game we got on our list is Mad Max. And Austin, I was hoping that you could talk on this one because you played this, didn't you?
I did. It was years later. It came out in 2015. I must have played it in 2017. I got it on a Steam sale. I think original reviews were not that great. Then I heard Colin Moriarty talk about it, how so good it was, and I was like, well, let me just jump into it. And it's exactly what you expect. Bunch of cars, muscle cars. You go around this open world, and the story was actually really good with dialogue. It was interesting. The way the game flowed, I thought was really awesome. It didn't appeal to me at first when I first heard about it, and then I was surprised. Like I just never heard anything else about it. I don't even think I got a Game of the Year award. Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, no, I don't think it did either.
So,
but it reviews super well on Steam. It's just I agree. It never captured anybody or captured an audience, and I'm surprised I never played it just because it's all the car customization and stuff like that is pretty interesting. Maybe I'll get it though now that it's $4.
Surprisingly, the film came out in 2015 as well. So I don't know if this was coming out alongside of it or before it.
It was.
It has the same vibes, but obviously a different character.
This is one of those games that, even though it didn't hit off very well, movie adaptation into a video game that actually wasn't shit.
Yes, it really was. And actually,
cool.
You have a Gollum type character that you meet in here, and I actually met the voice actor for it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, when I was at WonderCon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was like, oh, you review video games? I was like, yeah. He's like, did you play Mad Max? And at the time, I hadn't played Mad Max. I was like, oh, no, I hadn't played it. He's like, oh, Okay, I'm that
He's
guy.
like, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
He was like, I'm that guy, and there was like, oh, that's cool, man. And I tried to talk to him, but at that point, he lost interest in me, and I was like, oh, okay, bye.
Damn. Titanfall 2. This game obviously definitely did have an audience, but not near the audience that it should have gotten. Because what really, I think, fucked this game up was EA, them allowing this game to release like a week before Battlefield 1 came out. And that was just like a recipe for disaster. And I heard somebody say that they thought it was different enough of a game that it wouldn't compete. But I'm like, are you serious? Like, they're both shooters. Why would they not compete?
Yeah.
So I think they kind of like wrote their own grave or when they announced this because Titanfall 2 had a killer multiplayer. It's so much fun. It's got the essence of a Call of Duty, but it's not Call of Duty. Being a pilot character and the traversal options, like, you know, going back to the traversal and how awesome you feel moving around. They didn't have the wall sliding like Call of Duty did or anything like that, but you could still jump and leap and navigate through the levels like really, really seamlessly. And then they had the big, huge mechs, which were a whole nother badass component. So you'd be in the game and you'd have pilots fighting each other. And then meanwhile, 3 mech having big, huge fights outside in the open space. And then as a pilot, you can run out there and like leap up on top of a mech, throw a bomb inside of it and blow them up. Or you could just like leave them to do their bidding. But the diversity in gameplay in this was just so much fun. Like it was cool to just like jump into a mech for a little bit, kill some bad guys, go back into being a pilot, do some shooting and stuff like that. And there was just a lot of momentum and motion that went throughout all the levels. What Titanfall 1 didn't have, the Titanfall 2 had, was a single player campaign. And the single player campaign was really, really good. It was like 7-8 hours long, funny. It was entertaining. Gameplay was good. It was challenging. Like everything about this was awesome. It just never got close to the recognition that it should have gotten. It's really upsetting. But
I agree. I remember we played that beta for the multiplayer, and it was a lot of fun. Obviously, the first one needed work, and it was a good proof of concept. Maybe it's just been so long since I played it, but I felt like there wasn't balance between being a pilot and being in the mech. Maybe they both need to focus on more stuff.
Yeah,
like
I feel like
separately,
it's kind of
obviously ground combat. They did and they didn't. I want to go back and play it. That's the thing. Like I feel like I remember what it was like, but maybe I don't.
They did do a better job with balance in Titanfall 2 versus 1 because it's kind of like how in Battlefield, you know, you play certain levels and you just feel underpowered to a tank. Like you cannot take a tank down no matter how hard you try.
Right.
And then eventually somebody can take it down. It was kind of like that, but I feel like better. I think Titanfall was better at, like, if you were going up against if you were one-on-one with a mech, like, yeah, you're not going to be able to take it down. But if you have a couple other people around you, like you have another mech teammate that's shooting at it, you can get the element of surprise, climb up on top of that thing and blow them up like super easy. I want to see Titanfall 3 return with a really solidly polished multiplayer like they had. The light progression system, really cool gameplay mechanics, and then another story that continues that previous story.
The campaign for 2 just did not seem enticing. I don't like the whole, this is a boy and his robot. It's supposed to be like, this is a boy and his dog type thing. A robot's a fucking robot. It's not real. It has fake emotion. How do you care about this thing? It doesn't care about you. It's programmed to do that. It always bothered me my whole life. Like, I just don't like that story. It's stupid and it's not real.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, you get attached to your dog, man. Your
I get
dog's
that.
not real.
No, your dog is real with real emotions. It's not programmed.
Next one, Spec Ops The Line. This is probably, in my opinion, one of the most underrated games ever. Few people know that this game exists. This game tugged at your heartstrings so much and was basically a game that was always beating you down no matter how hard you try to get up. It was like, nope, you can't get back up. Bam, knock you back down on the ground again. And it was like that all the way from start to finish. And there's not many games that are able to do that and do it to where you want to keep playing and not get pissed off because you're like, why? Nothing's working. Man, such a good game. You played this, didn't you?
I played some of it, but I didn't get very far in it. That's the thing. But I know everyone kept talking about it. People did a lot of stories about it. And I was like, man, I wish I would have finished it.
Apparently the Spec Ops series has been around for, this was the 10th game. And it was also a reboot of the Spec Ops series. They had Spec Ops Ranger Lead the Way, Ranger Team Bravo, Green Berets, Operation Bravo. And the last one that they did was Spec Ops The Line. And then we haven't seen one since then. But man, such a good game.
Yeah.
I wish people played it. Had multiple endings. One of the early games with multiple endings.
Yeah. And
I just don't know if it's one that, like, I feel like that's one of those games you don't want to revisit because, like, I think that's one that when we have a discussion later on this year about games that deserve a remaster or get to be remade, I think this one could be on that list because this needs to be remade in a modern day so people can play it again and be like, holy shit, that was amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Next one, No Man's Sky. When it came out and everybody wanted to return it, everybody did return it, so much so that people were changing their refund policies to allow it to be returned because it was that bad. And it's just a lot of broken promises. They went silent for a while and then came out with updates and started fixing it.
Yep.
And then now it's definitely the biggest comeback story probably in history. And it's also like one of the most well-respected games in history. Like it's still being played to this day by tons and tons of people. And they absolutely adore it with all the updates that they've made to it. But it's still underrated because now nobody goes back to it now.
Right. No one plays
There
it.
hasn't been a resurgence because it did such a bad job at launch.
Right.
Deep Rock Galactic.
Yeah, so basically you're just dwarves, space mining dwarves. You go out into these asteroids and you try to complete these objectives by mining stuff. And in the process, you're being attacked by space bugs, and the whole point is to, once you get your objective, you got to get back to your escape pod. I found it very interesting because all the maps were randomized. It's just kind of sad. It just didn't hit off for some reason.
As much as I like the procedural generation, for me it was kind of its downfall a little bit. There are certain instances where the procedural generation just doesn't make sense. So you're trying to collect a certain resource or do a certain thing, and in your mind you're like, oh, I should be able to go through this hole and dig over to get to this mineral that I need. But it's procedurally generated, so it doesn't think that way. They had that one character that had the grappling hook or whatever. When I was playing with like 2 people, not 4. So I didn't have the character with the grappling hook. That was the only way I could get to this thing, was having that character. And for that, it's kind of a detriment in a way, because then you're required to have a full squad to have all the tools at your disposal. And then the procedural generation doesn't do well, you're gonna miss an opportunity. That was the only negative I had for it. Otherwise, like, the loop was awesome. The different diversity of characters was really cool. Like the fact that each one did have a specific role that it played. The enemies were awesome. And then that last little bit of like, okay, I got all my shit. Now to actually like make the shit worth something, I have to get out of here. And that last rush was really fun.
Oh yeah. Well, apparently they've done a lot of updates to it now, so like that's another game I want to get back into and try out.
We should stream it sometime soon. Just like jump back into it for like a Wednesday stream and see what's happened to it. Because I bet you're right. Like there's probably like a shit ton that's been in there that is new and different. All right, last one we have is What Remains of Edith Finch. This was a game where you played a character named Edith, part of the Finch family, who was afflicted by a massive curse that caused everybody except for her to die in unusual ways. So you're going through as a walking simulator and basically kind of reliving the ways in which they died. And what was clever about this game was the way in which it had such a diverse array of gameplay mechanics. So different and interesting. And every time you found something new, you're like, what the F is this?
All the different mechanics were for different stories. So
right,
watching those stories play out was super fascinating, was mind-blowing, and it's not a long game. You don't need just to shoot people for a whole game to tell a story. You can do so much more. Such a good game.
I do want to throw in a community suggestion that came from Mr. Macamac himself on Discord. He says The Surge is a game that he would say is underrated, which I never played The Surge. But he said that it was hard and came way under the radar. It was basically a futuristic Dark Souls. One of these games on here that is your most underrated game, like, of all time, like, which one would be?
I would have to pick Mad Max because it had good storytelling, it had great world building, and driving and stuff, gameplay. It was all there.
I'd say mine is probably, I'm going to say that. I'm going to say What Remains of Edith Finch, actually.
Oh, surprising.
Because in a way, I mean, like, I love Spec Ops, but like, I still think that What Remains of Edith Finch is like, I feel like every gamer and non-gamer should play this game to see what games can do, what games can capture. Like, there's no shooting.
Yeah.
There's no murderous death. The fact that they wove in so many different pieces of gameplay, just solid through and through.
Yep. I agree
absolutely
with you.
Love it. But all these games, y'all should play and jump into them. Well, thank you again, Macamac, for your community suggestion as well. And that's going to wrap it up for our most underrated games of all time this week. If you all want to contribute to next week's segment, give us a shout out to innergamer.net, and you can join us on our Discord channel. Link in the show notes.